The Canadian Parliament interrogates MindGeek, Joe Biden is overtly racist, and the Texas power grid failing this past week. I'm Trey. This is the Trey Show. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is the Canadian Parliament and their interrogation and interview with MindGeek. And so on February 1st, the Canadian House of Commons Ethics Committee launched an investigation on MindGeek, which is the parent company of Pornhub and other major porn sites. And so basically what they were investigating is that there were claims that there were child sexual abuse, there was rape, there was distributed content that wasn't consensual. And so there were a lot of really big allegations that have been coming for the past few years. There were already a lot of lawsuits pending in both the US and Canada. And so MindGeek is based out of Montreal. So that is why it was the Canadian Parliament doing most of this work, is because they're a Canadian company. So the US government is allowing them to take lead. But they have been under a lot of scrutiny, especially since December. A New York Times op-ed really came out, and it has shown a lot of light on the industry and on what MindGeek specifically has been allowing and what it has been doing. And so MindGeek and Pornhub, like I said, are currently facing multiple lawsuits in both the US and in Canada. And there's a lot of talk about them potentially being shut down at the end of this because of all of the just human rights that they have just been allowing to be bypassed and be abused. They have been allowing sex trafficking videos on their platforms with the content. They have straight up lied to the Canadian Parliament multiple times in their interview, and I'll try to link the entire interview at the bottom after this video. Obviously, I'm not going to put it in the video because it's like 2 hours, but I'll go ahead and I'll put it in the bottom. So if you want to watch that, if you want to see what was being discussed, what was being going on, and the specific allegations that are coming against MindGeek and Pornhub right now. And so the investigation has brought a lot of those illegal actions to light, and it has proven a lot of them to be true, not even just with the specific circumstances that were discussed, but on a wide scale, on a systemic scale. It has been shown that girls that have been sexually abused have been sexually abused on video, and then it posted videos that people didn't know were being taken and then were posted and now are on the platform, and they haven't been taken down. And so this investigation is very bad news for MindGeek, but it is great news for everyone else. And Exodus Cry has been a leading voice and taking charge on this for years now, and it is paying off. It is showing, their work is proving to be fruitful. And so the company, during this interrogation, has been reportedly lied multiple times, and we're going to talk about a few of them on here just so we can see what it was like, kind of what the investigation, what they were asking, and how the CEOs from MindGeek responded. So first, they claimed the Canadian Parliament asked them if they made any profit off of like abusive videos or explicit content, even by those standards. And the CEO of MindGeek said that they did not. They said that they didn't profit off of any child abuse. They didn't have any child abuse on their website. He said that they didn't profit off of any sex trafficking or any videos that were taken and distributed without consent from both parties. And so that has clearly been false. And most of that is because they have 50% of their 50% of their revenue comes from their ads. And so anytime that you click on a video, it says that if there's an ad that pops up on the same web page, then they're making money off of that video through the ad. And so they are making money off of underage and non-consensual videos because it has been proven that there have been ads on these videos. And so it is a straight up bold lie that the CEOs of MindGeek are giving the Canadian Parliament, and it is provably false. According to fightthenewdrug.org, 40 trafficking and exploitation survivors have filed a lawsuit against MindGeek for allegedly knowingly profiting for images and videos of their sex trafficking nightmares and failing to properly moderate MindGeek-owned sites for their abusive content. And so this is not even brand new. This is something that happened a few years ago that is just continuing to come to light. More and more people are starting to speak out and are starting to say, hey, this is what happened to me. This shouldn't be on whatever platform, whatever site. And so MindGeek is explicitly lying to the Canadian Parliament. And it is provable, and it has been proven. But they are still standing up and saying that they do not make any of this money, but they have had to make massive settlements for people who have sued them because of they lost. And actually, a judge in California a few years ago, the judge gave the rights to these videos to the girls that were suing, so they were making money off of it now, and they were given money by MindGeek, and I think that was Girls Do Porn. That was the company that like drugged these girls and then forced them to sign contracts and then posted their videos without consent. And so they actually got rights to those videos, and they were paid a settlement fee, and that's what the judge ordered. And so there's been a massive movement for years to just really go through these sites and make sure that they are not allowing and endorsing and enabling sex trafficking. And for years, these sites have reported to do that and not done that. And it hasn't been a secret. But now, with all of these different movements, like the Exodus Cry, like Fight the New Drug, all of these movements are coming up, like what Jaco Boyan does with fighting sex trafficking. All of these organizations and all of these movements and all of these people are finally coming together, and they are standing up and they are speaking out and they are empowering people to tell their story, and it is not ending well for MindGeek. And so not only was that a clear lie, they also said that every piece of content is reviewed by a content moderator before it goes live. So if I was to post something on there, then it would have to be reviewed by a physical, actual person before it would actually go on the platform, on the website. And that is what their claim is. But however, when you look at the math with that, it does not add up. It says the Exodus Cry said that in 2019, 1.39 million hours of porn was uploaded to Pornhub and to other MindGeek sites, and potentially more in 2020. There is no way that 80 people could moderate every video. That is not possible. And so it is just another clear lie that they are saying just to be able to say they have something in place and then overlook it. And because of that, it is enabling sex trafficking and child rape and non-consensual distribution of content. And those are big issues that, because MindGeek is making money off of it, because they are profiting so much off of it, they just decide to overlook it. And it's so clear, and you can tell in the way that some of the CEOs, you can tell in the way that they respond, their attitude toward it. They just have no empathy. They have no sympathy for these girls that have gone through this, or guys who have gone through this. All they care about is making money, and it is so evident when you watch this interview. And so I encourage you to go watch the interview. It was really encouraging, because you can tell the Canadian Parliament is not just going to let this go. They're going to keep going, and I hope that they continue this fight, and I hope that these other organizations can partner alongside them, come alongside them, and really push for just more regulation or just complete completely taking down these sites. And so their last lie, just overt lie that we're going to discuss, is them claiming to have zero child sexual abuse material. Now, child sexual abuse isn't just what we would attribute abuse to. Child sexual abuse would also be posting content of a minor. That would be child sexual abuse. And so any video of a minor on Pornhub or any MindGeek owned site would be considered child sexual abuse. And first of all, this claim cannot be verified even if it wasn't proven overtly false, because there's too much content and there's not enough regulation in that. There's not enough knowledge of who is in videos or what is going on, what's happening behind the scenes. And so you cannot verify that there's zero underage content on your platform. But not only can you not verify that, but it has been shown that even by one man in Florida, there have been posted over 60 videos of minors committing sexual acts and being abused. And so this man is just continually lying on his face to the Canadian Parliament and to the House of Commons Ethics Committee that MindGeek is just a stand-up company that is just in a taboo industry that gets hate because of what they do. When in reality, not only is this industry evil, right, but what they are doing, the practices that they're doing in this industry are allowing other evils to be committed outside of it. It is enabling and it is promoting sex trafficking. It is promoting child abuse. It is promoting abuse. It is promoting rape. And people are profiting off of that. And I cannot think of anything that is more just dark and twisted and evil than someone being okay with profiting off of others having to experience something like that. And not even on a small scale, but on a massive systemic scale. And so my hope is that the Canadian Parliament will continue to press on in this fight, continue to push into them, to MindGeek and their CEOs. And ultimately, my hope is that obviously all of these sites are taken down. But even just from a completely a-religious standpoint, we should, as just people that respect one another, that care about one another, we should call for these sites to be taken down. We should call it, at the least, from a completely a-religious view, for these sites to be much more regulated, for them to be forced to not break the law. I don't think that's too much to ask. And we should all stand up together, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, an atheist. This should be an issue that everyone can come together on and say, this is wrong. This needs to be stopped. Maybe this is a foundational piece that people can finally stop talking about right and left, conservative and liberal, or religious, a-religious, the differences in religion. Maybe this is something that we can all come together on. This is something that we have to all come together on, regardless of your background or your beliefs, and stand up and say, this, what is happening here at MindGeek, at Pornhub, and at these other major porn sites is evil. It is wrong, and it needs to stop. And that's not going to happen until everyone collectively can stand up and say that. And so, from just a completely a-religious standpoint, these people need to be stopped in their openly illegal, systemically illegal acts in their business. And from a Christian standpoint, we don't want it to stop there. We want to push on further, and we need to say, no, these sites need to be taken down. Because there are a lot of studies that show that porn negatively affects men, for not even just while they watch it, but in their view of women, in their relationships with success rates in marriages. And so there's a lot of evidence that is showing that porn not only is bad morally, but it's bad logically. It's bad in the long term for how you develop. It's bad for your development. And so we as Christians should stand up and say, no, this is not only bad because it's breaking the law, because it's enabling sex trafficking, but it's also morally bad because we are called to live our life a certain way. And we are called to represent Christ. And we can't do that. We can't represent Christ or claim to represent Christ when we are allowing such atrocities, such evil acts to go unchecked. And so this is an incredible opportunity for Christians to really push in and push to get these sites taken off the internet. And my expectation is that they will, because things like the Exodus Project and Fight the New Drug and Yako Boy, and because they are doing so much work and they have put in the work for so long, people are finally starting to take notice. And so this will hopefully be a coalition of everyone that cares about others. Anyone that cares about one another, they should be in this movement, ending sex trafficking, ending MindGeek and their industry, ending Pornhub. We should all come together and look to stop this. And so that's been going on for the past few weeks. That has been an investigation that started on February 1st, and then the interrogation and the interview was this past week. And so that has been an ongoing thing in Canada and something that we will obviously be keeping our eyes on in the future, because it's going to have large impacts in America as well. But also in America this past week, Joe Biden was just overtly racist. He didn't even try to hide it. It was just openly racist. And I cannot believe that during his CNN town hall, Joe Biden said this.
Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine how to get in line for that COVID vaccination.
How did this man get away with this? How does he say this? How does he say that black people cannot use the internet and say that Mexicans and Hispanics cannot use the internet, and the media say nothing? How is it that he says this and people are not outraged? People on both sides are not outraged. Sorry, let me correct myself. How is this man overtly racist like this? This is more racist than anything that Donald Trump has ever said. It was just openly on national TV, on CNN. He says that black people and Hispanics cannot use the internet. How is that acceptable? And if this was Donald Trump, we would still be hearing about it. It would never end. But instead, we have heard nothing. Instead of this being on a loop on Instagram from every single page, on the right and left, on every single media outlet discussing it, you heard nothing. You saw some memes on Instagram, you saw some TikTok videos about it, but you have not seen the just outrage that should have ensued after him saying this. And it shouldn't come as a surprise that he says this, because he has openly said very racist things throughout his time in the public sphere, in public office. He has openly said these things like this. And so, if Joe Biden actually believes that minorities don't know how to use the internet, that should be insulting. Like that is insulting. That is wrong. And there have been, and who was it? Rob Smith made a video kind of responding to it, and then made a video acting like he doesn't know how to use a laptop and search for things. And there have been many videos like that, especially on TikTok. I've seen a lot. I don't have TikTok, but people have sent them to me, or I've seen them on Instagram, and they are TikToks. But it has been incredibly sad to see that people on both sides have not been able to just openly condemn this. I've got friends on Instagram that will call out Donald Trump all day. They love to call out Donald Trump. They will post things from far left Instagram pages. They will say that Donald Trump is a racist and that Joe Biden is the way. And then when Joe Biden says something like this, they are silent. They are posting nothing. You don't hear about it. So why is there such a clear, open, and accepted bias for Joe Biden? Why is he treated with such kid gloves? Why does no one call him out when he messes up? When his press secretary goes against what he says and then blames it on her, why is no one calling someone out? Why is no one asking hard questions? Why is no one second guessing this administration's clear lack of policy and lack of vision? Why is no one second guessing this administration's clear lack of rhetoric and lack of care for others? And like I said, it would be a very different situation if Donald Trump had said this. If Donald Trump had said that black people and minorities in rural and inner city areas cannot use the internet, it would be everywhere. But instead, you have this media giant in CNN, and it's not, the problem isn't MSNBC. People love to hate on MSNBC. MSNBC is openly left, so they can say what they want, and it shouldn't surprise anyone. Just like Fox is openly right. Fox doesn't try to be in the middle. They don't say they're in the middle. They are openly Republican. CNN is the issue, because CNN they report to be the, down the middle, no side, no political agenda news. And they have become just as far left as MSNBC a lot of times. And they cover up for Joe Biden, and they have done it, and they do it time and time again. So when are people going to wake up? They're going to see that they're being played, that they're not being given truth, but that these media companies are just using them to make money, to make a profit. When are people going to wake up and see that? And see that in 2020, during the presidential election cycle, people were played. And people are beginning to see that. DC Drano put on Instagram yesterday a picture of just a bunch of Democrats who were tweeting like, man, we messed up, like Joe Biden played us, where's this policy now? Is he backtracking from, forgiving student debt, from the Green New Deal, from all of this stuff? People are seeing that they weren't told the truth. And people are saying that they're never going to vote blue no matter who again, because of the overt lies that this administration told during the election, is continuing to say today, and are not following through with their promises. And I just think that it's interesting that no one talks about it. No one will openly say anything. No major media platform will openly say anything. And my hope is that people will wake up and see that, and people will change that. And so the biggest news story for me this week, and for most people that watch this podcast, was that Texas had a massive freeze, and it was an awful week for weather. I know for me, it got me way behind in school, because now everything that was due last week is now due this week. along with the things that are due this week, even though I didn't have power last week. So if you are a college student, you are probably behind on school now because we had no ability to do schoolwork, yet all of it still do. But many people faced worse conditions than that. Many people, I believe it was over 40, have died from either hypothermia or from carbon monoxide poisoning from opening their stove and letting the heat kind of come through there, and the carbon monoxide ultimately killing them. And so a lot of it has been made of what caused this. Was it wind turbines freezing? Was it natural gas failing? Was it a mixture of both? And depending on where you look, you will either see it was all the wind turbines, or it was all the natural gas, or it was somewhere in the middle. And that's where I fall. So, and that's where Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles both fall as well, is that yes, the wind did fail, but yes, the natural gas also wasn't prepared for this. And some of that can be blamed on regulations by the government, actually. So first off, to all the people that want to point at Texas and say, wow, look at them, they weren't prepared. This is proof that we need the Green New Deal. That's what AOC said. Let's take a second, let's step back, and let's look at California. And let's see how often they have to go into a rolling blackout similar to this, and it is every summer. Every summer they have to do a rolling blackout. Not because of unpredictable weather, not because of a once-in-a-100-year storm, not because of a freeze that no one was expecting 2 months ago, much less 2 years ago or 20 years ago, when we would have needed to implement this infrastructure, but because of it being hot in the summer. That is why California has to have rolling blackouts, is because it is hot during the summer. So why is it that California gets to stand on the moral high ground and say, you should have been prepared, when they are clearly never prepared? Their state government is never prepared for the completely expected yearly weather that comes, and yet they have to not allow AC in their houses. They have to have rolling blackouts. So if you are from California, or you support the Californian government's use of energy, you have no right to say anything about Texas having no power, or parts of Texas having a rolling blackout or no power for a week, when this is a yearly thing in California. So that's that. And a lot of people want to hate on Texas because of this, and liberals have, or far liberals have been cheering this on, and they're just such hypocrites, and it's so obvious. But Texas was hit with that storm, and it was something that we have not seen in 100 years. So this is not something that we generally would be prepared for. And I think it's very clear that Texans don't know how to operate in snow based on how people drive in snow. So why we hold the energy, the power grid, to such a high standard when we can't even drive in snow is beyond me. But the wind turbines did freeze over. Wind and solar generally accounts for about 20% of Texas's power, of the state's power. However, when the winter storm hit and the wind turbines froze and solar power became next to nothing, that dropped from 10% to 20%, from 20% to 10%. Sorry. So their production literally dropped by 50%. That is a massive drop. Now, in terms of total power lost, yes, natural gas definitely lost more power, but that's because they were producing more power. So you don't need to look at how much power was lost by each by each type of power, by each type of energy source. You need to look at the percentage of power that was lost. So yes, while the natural gas did lose a higher amount of energy production, that is not what we need to look at. We need to look at the percentage lost. And that area of blame falls on wind and solar, which produces a fifth of this state's energy. Okay, Texas is a massive state. So when you have articles say that the wind energy and the solar energy is next to nothing, okay, 20% of, South Dakota or North Dakota or Iowa may be next to nothing. But 20% of Texas and its power is not nothing. That is a large amount of energy that is being lost. And 50% of the power in Texas is produced by natural gas on a regular basis. So then not only is natural gas losing total energy produced, but then it is also being asked to produce a higher percentage of the energy for that week. And that's exactly what it did. It produced a higher amount of energy during that week. Now, are there issues with the natural gas? Yes, the pipes weren't insulated, but again, that is a 1 in 100 years issue. That is not a common issue that we face every year. And that is also not a quick fix. To improve the infrastructure of pipelines like that, it is extremely expensive. It is extremely time consuming. It is not something that you can just be like, okay, Green New Deal, and fix it. That's not how the real world works. That might be what AOC thinks. That might be how she thinks it works. But in reality, that is not how that happens. This would have needed to be implemented years ago. And instead it wasn't, because this is not something that was expected. This is not something that could have been expected, right? However, there's wind turbines to blame as well. Like, the blame is on both sides, and it is also on the state government. So all in all, it was a massive culmination of both unforeseen events and poor planning and just not being ready for the cold. That is what happened last week. It is not all on natural gas. It's not all on wind and solar. And it's not all on the state government. But there is blame to go around, and it can go around to many places. The one place it cannot go around to is Ted Cruz. When Ted Cruz went to Mexico, people were hating him for it. They said that he was abandoning his state. Okay, Ted Cruz represents the entire state of Texas on the federal level in the Senate. He has no power over the Texas power grid. He has no power over the governor. He has no power over the legislature. Ted Cruz is a citizen of Texas that happens to represent the state of Texas. So he has every right, and if he sees this as a danger, a moral responsibility to protect his family. So he chose to go to Mexico. I have no issues with that. If I had money and the ability to go to Mexico last week, maybe I would have. I probably would have gone to Florida over Mexico, but I would have not been in Texas, right? So why are people acting like Ted Cruz caused this? Like he is the reason. It is natural gas and Ted Cruz, and that is the issue. That is not true. Ted Cruz is not the issue. He went to Mexico. People can get over it. It's not that big a deal. So I am happy that the warm weather's back. I hate the cold. I love the warm weather. So I'm going to enjoy this, well, I guess next, 12 months of warm weather. But I hope that y'all are enjoying this weather, and I hope y'all have a great week. I'm Trey Cole. This is The Trey Cole Show. So So if you like this video or you learned something new, like, share, subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube. If you don't want to watch the video, you would rather just listen to the audio, you can also do that on Spotify and Apple Podcast. And if you are looking for another podcast to watch or listen to and you want to focus more on the religious side and less on politics, then I would highly recommend you go listen to Brenna Sterling at Create, Worship, Inspire. She has done a great job over the past few months of putting out really high quality content. And so if you want to, again, listen to a young conservative's take on what is mostly religion and theology and just different issues that Christians face, I would definitely recommend that you go give her a listen. So until next Tuesday, I hope you all have a great week.